Welcome to Butterflies of Wisdom, everyone. Depending on when you listen to this, Thursday or Friday, you will be fascinated by this story because I was fascinated by this story. I was given this lead by Chris of Chris Motion Studios. He has a fantastic podcast called Getting Work to Work. And he goes, why don't you interview John? John is a blind woodworker, and John wasn't born blind. He tried to commit suicide. I said tried, but the only thing it did was made him blind. It didn't scramble anything else as he likes to put it. So without further ado, I'm going to let Mr. John take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Furness, as Wynn said. I became blind when I was 16, and I've never really let anything hold me back. I adapted to it very well, and I decided I wanted to keep doing the things that I enjoyed doing. So eventually I went to a school for the blind in Utah, in Salt Lake City, Utah, and it wasn't an academic school so much as a school where people that are going blind and becoming independent learn how to cook and clean and brush up on Braille and that kind of thing. And they also had a wood shop there, and that's where I learned to find woodwork. Oh, go ahead.
So basically, you went to school for the blind in Utah, which is one of the top schools for the blind. They also have another top school in Florida. And so basically, you didn't go to college for artistic woodworking. You did this straight out of high school.
Well, so it wasn't the school I went to. It wasn't like an academic school for the blind. Like it wasn't the state school for the blind. It was it's an organization that works with vocational rehab, and they don't teach math and science or anything like that. You go there and learn independent living skills. So, like for instance, I wanted to start working with vocational rehab to help find a job, and part of their stipulation was that I pass this course to prove that yes, I am, viable to live on my own and have a job, that kind of a thing. And that was part of their stipulation, is to pass this course. And it like I said, they teach you how to cook and clean while being blind. They teach you Braille and computer skills, and then they also had the wood shop. And so, because I actually completed high school in just regular school. I became blind in Wyoming when I was 16, and continued. That was my sophomore year of high school, and then I continued going there my junior year of high school, and then we moved to Salt Lake City, and that's where I finished out my schooling, my senior year of high school there in West Jordan, Utah, actually.
Okay. So that's because I thought, wait a minute, you were trying to get Utah Voc Rehab to help you, but their requirement was you got to pass this course in this blind school.
Yes. And it was
So then you passed the course with flying colors and also found woodworking in the process.
Mhm. Yes,
I
did. And it's been one of the best things ever in my life. Learning to woodwork. It's just been one of the most wonderful things that's ever happened to me.
And I know I'm going to ask you to pick your favorite child here, John, but what has been the most favorite piece of wood you have ever carved?
Oh boy, my favorite piece I ever
Boy.
carved. That's a tough one because I'm kind of a wood snob. I like all the exotic kind of stuff. I think my favorite piece I've done so far is this table that I built right before I moved up here, and it's a very ornate, artistic table. It's shaped like a giant hourglass, kind of. Stands about 3 feet tall, and it's about 20 inches square. It's got a drawer on the top and the bottom, and then in the middle is this large 9-inch diameter, 2-foot tall hourglass, sort of modern art looking hourglass shape. It's got a big ball in the middle where the two cones come together, and then there's a post on each corner, and the whole thing is laminated different. There's a wood called Padauk, which is a dark red orange, and then yellow heart, which with the finish on it has sort of a yellowish amber kind of a hue to it.
That sounds beautiful.
Thank you.
Sounds beautiful. And by the way, you did a fantastic job on describing that on audio podcast because obviously you can't see the wood you're working on. And is that been a challenge for you? I hate to be the idiot here, but I'm going to ask this idiot honest question that I'm sure my listeners are curious. Have you ever gotten a big, huge wood splinter in your hand because you can't see what you're doing?
Oh, I've gotten some splinters you could kill a vampire with, let me tell you what.
Yeah.
I've got some big ones.
Yeah, I could only imagine. Now, is your wood shop, I know you told me I'm very lucky to have a wood shop right outside my house. Is your wood shop set up for you and your blindness, or is it set up like a typical wood shop?
I would say it's set up like a typical wood shop, really. I mean,
Okay.
you know, I like, for instance, the lathe is really my main tool, and I've got a wide set of chisels that go along with that. And I have a bench that's got a little shelf on top that I drilled holes in so I can hang all my chisels right there next to each other and organize them. And basically just stuff like that. It's set up more like a regular wood shop than anything, but I'm the only one that works in there, so it doesn't really need to be, you know, specifically adapted for the blind.
Because you're the only one that works in there, so you probably know where everything is. Now,
Yeah.
The workshop with someone else who wasn't blind, that would be a totally different story. And now I want to ask you, have you ever considered going to a working artist studio, or do you think that would be too much? Because I know from working with the blind in the past, their sensitivity to noise is higher than the average person. So going to a working artist studio and renting a space there might be a little bit difficult just because of logistics.
Yeah, well, I mean, and also, like, what I do makes a lot of noise by itself. So I would be annoying other people, but also I prefer to be more solitary when I work anyways, because that way I don't have to worry about anybody being around me or me being around anybody to get in each other's way, and you know, that, so it's easier that way. Like for instance, there's this wonderful organization here called Friends of the Carpenter, and they're a nonprofit organization, and they do a lot of charity work. And one of the things that they do also is they have a wood shop, and one of their programs is that if they will donate wood to people for free as long as you make things for them to put in their shop to sell to help with their nonprofit thing. And I've been doing that quite a bit. It's been pretty nice. And let's see here, where was I going with that? They offered, when I first called to talk to them about getting wood from them, they were thinking that I was going to come and work in their shop. And they were a little bit leery of that, of course, because their insurance, OSHA would not really have even allowed it, probably.
Yeah.
And so I was very happy that I had my own shop to be able to work in. And that's
why I could never go into a working artist studio myself.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
am a huge liability to big guys. I am probably smaller than you, John, but we have to consider the logistics of our disability. And of course, friends with the carpenter would be really about that. God, everyone's so, I don't know how to put this. I'll put it this way. Everyone's so happy, and they want to treat the disabled like second-class citizens. It's not even funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have to say, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I have to say I wouldn't have my shop without my wife. She literally ran this was back when I was rebuilding pianos, but she did a fundraiser to buy all my tools for me and got all the money to buy all my tools, which I don't rebuild pianos anymore. I'm a woodworker now, but they pretty much go hand in hand. So all those tools I bought go right into my woodworking. So basically, I have my shop because of my wonderful wife.
Yep, your wonderful wife, who could not join us today, but
no,
we are planning a episode in December because when I texted you last night, obviously she texted me back, and I said, Andy, I'm so sorry you couldn't join us, but if you want to come on in December and plan another interview, you guys are more than welcome to do that, because I was just going to say that before you said I couldn't do this without my wonderful wife. When you have a disability or when you're a solo entrepreneur without a disability, you need family support.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You need family support. I mean, there's no question about that. And you need, obviously, when you have a disability, you need more family support than the average person. So, John, what would you say to the person that's listening to this right now and wants to get into woodworking as a full-time career or as a hobby? What would you say?
Well, I'd say it's a wonderful thing to get into. I mean, if you look at history, all of the important people throughout history were woodworkers. I mean, it really, Da Vinci, all the way back to Jesus, if you believe in that. And I think it's a wonderful thing that you learn how to build things, you learn how to create things, and it teaches you all kinds of stuff. So I would say definitely as a hobby or a profession, do it. And there's a limitless a foundation of information out there. I mean, you can find books and books and books about techniques and blueprints and all kinds of stuff. So it's definitely a good one to get into.
So there's probably books and books and books, and I know there's podcasts, you guys, on woodworking. I know there's podcasts, you guys, on woodworking. So just check iTunes, type in woodworking, and I'm sure you'll find a podcast on that. I know there is podcasts on woodworking, but there's books. There's also Google. There's also Asking John. I'm sure that if you're in the Seattle area, I'm sure that he would be willing to mentor you. Do you do stuff like that, John?
Actually, there are a couple of people I'm going to be mentoring and teaching a bit about woodwork. I'm really looking forward to that. I love to teach, and especially to share something that I love and has enriched my life so much.
So you are mentoring a couple people, and so how would that work? Because I presume that those people are able-bodied.
Yeah, the people that I'm going to be mentoring, they have vision. They're totally able to see and everything, and they've done some, some more rough kind of woodworking. And they want to learn the finer tune stuff. And it's kind of funny. It's like I'm going to have to rethink how to teach them because they can see what they're doing. Like the biggest difference between a blind woodworker and a sighted woodworker is the way that we measure things and the way that we set up our cuts.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny that you say that? You're going to have to be going back to school yourself.
A little bit, yeah. And my favorite tool, and I couldn't do what I do without it. It's called a Rotomatic. It's an adaptive measuring tool for blind people, and it's such a simple and such a wonderful invention. It's basically just a threaded rod, and it's 6.5 inches long. It's flat on both sides, and one side has a raised notch every 1/2 inch. And then on this threaded rod, there's a wide bolt that sticks out real wide on each side, and then there's a set nut that goes along up and down. So every full revolution of that wide nut is 1/16 of an inch. And then you have extensions that you can screw onto that are 6 inches, 12 inches, and 18 inches long for bigger measurements. And I can make a cut on my table saw that is accurate down to a 32nd of an inch using that tool.
Wow, my God. And this is specifically for blind woodworkers. And
yes, it is.
I'm going to ask you a tricky question here, John, and I'm going to ask you where can people find you and your beautiful work, and then I'm going to let you ask me a couple questions about anything that you've been interested in asking me. But my first question out of the shoot, do you know the numbers of blind woodworkers across the United States or no?
I don't know the actual number, but I do know that there are a lot. There are more than I thought. Really, it's actually very common amongst blind people to be woodworkers, and I mean they might not necessarily still have all their fingers. I do, knock on wood, but there are a lot. And at the school that I went to, the teacher there, Chris Hathaway, he worked there when I was going there, and he taught those students how to make some of the most beautiful stuff you'd ever seen in your life. I mean, bookshelves and tables and and entertainment centers and stuff. And he taught them to really build something right and how to really take pride in what you do. And just, I've never come across a better teacher of any kind. And the things that were put out in that shop, if you didn't know the people that made it were blind, you would never believe it. I mean,
isn't that interesting? Interesting that he was treating people like normal people.
Mhm. Well, and he is also blind, not total like I am, but he has one functioning eye, and I think only about 2300 vision. It's pretty low vision, but he taught me all the fine woodworking. We became very close friends when he retired, and I helped him build a wood shop at his new house right from the ground up, 16 by 20 foot wood shop, all the way from the studs on the ground to the shingles on the roof.
Aye, aye, aye. You're a man of many talents, and you want to give back. And that being said, when people hear this episode, it will be it's almost November now, so that means holiday shopping, hint, hint. And so, my feelings, support the independent artist, because being an independent artist, we do what we can to make an income. John is on the woodworking side, I'm on the book side. So, that being said, where can people find you, John?
Well, I have an Etsy page, which is The Blind Woodsman. I also have an Instagram under the same name, The Blind Woodsman. I have a YouTube channel, also The Blind Woodsman. And my Facebook is John Furnace Artistic Woodworking. And I don't have a Twitter account.
Well, Twitter's too much. Twitter's too much for me. So,
yeah.
You have to go to Etsy. You have to check out The Blind Woodsman. Etsy does take PayPal, I know that. And Etsy is a wonderful spot to support all independent artists, including John. And so please, 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 before you go to Amazon and check out my books, which you guys already know about, please, 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 please go to Etsy and check out The Blind Woodsman, possibly buy something from John. I'm sure John and Annie would be greatly appreciative of you guys supporting them. I'm a big independent artist fan, and so please, 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 please go check out John's work. And John, before I let you go, I want you to ask me a couple questions that you've been interested in asking me.
Well, I know that you're in Colorado, and I am also a native Coloradan, but I moved from there many, many moons ago, so I was wondering how are things there in Colorado these days?
It's still beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And we had fall, but not so much anymore because of snow. Thank you very much. But it's absolutely beautiful. As you guys know, I live in the mountains of Colorado. So, but it's absolutely beautiful. And I think that we have one of the most beautiful states in the country, and you guys could probably check it out in the summer because, as John will attest to, And as I will attest to, it's beautiful in the summer. I mean, Pikes Peak is beautiful. Pikes Peak is, Denver, Colorado. And we have so much beauty in Colorado. So that's interesting you asked me that, John, because it's still beautiful. I don't know if you remember the beauty of Colorado, but it's still here.
Good. Excellent. I have to say, if I lived anywhere but Washington, it would be Colorado.
Oh, yes. Because, Seattle, I don't think I could live in Seattle because of the rain, but Washington State has just as much beauty as Colorado.
Well, let's see here. What are some of the challenges that you face in daily life?
Oh God. Well, we right now, which I've had for 30 years, and John, you've probably experienced this too. The education system and the disabled do not mix. I just plow my way through and do the best I can. But the education system for any disabled do not mix. Especially at college level, I feel like they are more supportive at the high school level, and especially when you go to a school meant for that disability, like meant for cerebral palsy or meant for blindness, and but I feel like the college teachers are not very supportive, and those who are supportive, you are lucky to find them. And when you mentioned that teacher that taught you woodworking, she was very supportive of all his students, but now teachers are so curious about crossing the T's and dotting the I's on paperwork that they treat us like second-class citizens. And I'm sorry, but I don't face battles with my own disability. I face battles going back to school.
Yeah. Let's see here. What other questions do I have for you? One thing I have to say about technology nowadays is I really like smartphones. I don't know what I would do without my iPhone. I really don't.
Okay.
I mean,
we have to throw that in there. Throw that in there. Technology has saved everyone.
Yeah, these smartphones are the best invention for blind people since Braille was invented.
Really?
Yes. Oh, without question.
Why do you say that?
Well, because I can access the internet without any problems whatsoever at all. This thing, it reads my money for me. I get all my emails. I can do anything with this phone. And before that, there are speech programs on desktop computers, but they are very complex and very clunky and not user-friendly in any way. And I've never really been very computer savvy, so I was never able to master any of the speech programs at all. And they're very generic. So, you go on the internet, for instance, and there's no way to access some of the, text fields and pop-up windows that you have to access to actually do things when you're ordering something or whatever.
Yeah.
And with the iPhones, that is not an issue. It's not a problem at all. I go wherever I want, I do whatever I want, and it's there. You know, I cannot say enough good things about how it has opened up my life.
Well, isn't that interesting? And
Mm-hmm.
I'll throw this in there, you guys. Etsy does have an app for the iPhone, and I believe Android. So if you want to go shopping with the Blind Woodsman on Etsy.com, you can actually do that via your iPhone. Speaking of, and that's interesting that you say that voiceover on the iPhone is so good, it's better than JAWS, because I'm not a blind user of the computer, but I find that it's easier for me to do stuff on my iPhone.
Yeah, well, comparing the iPhone to JAWS is like comparing a modern truck to a horse and buggy. I mean, really, there's no comparison. It's so superior to JAWS. There's really just no comparison.
Well, maybe JAWS would be listening to the podcast and they can speed things up a little bit. How does that sound, John? That they can make things a little bit faster for those who are computer users, but I don't know what I would do without my iPhone. I completely agree. Now, that being said, and then I'll let you officially go back to your amazing work, have you ever considered making an iPhone case?
Making an iPhone case?
Yes.
Oh, well, actually, my friend Scott makes iPhone cases. He made me one, and I wouldn't want to steal his idea. You know what I mean? I would, but it wouldn't. I wouldn't feel right doing it because it wasn't my design. It wasn't my idea. You know.
Yep. Just thought I would throw that out there. And
yeah, I mean, I wish I'd come up with it first because I'm sure I could sell them like hotcakes. But but you know, I mean, I can't be copying.
Just keep on the beautiful work you're doing, and please, 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 before you guys go to Amazon and support me, please go and support John and as a half Annie, because although we are a two-income family, it's always nice to receive a paycheck from Etsy, because you put your blood, sweat, and tears into this window work, John. I know you do. And I'll even get from Chris, I'll even go to your website and see if I can find a YouTube video so you guys can actually see John in action. And I presume all your social media, except for Twitter, is hooked up to your website.
Yeah. And right now on my YouTube channel, there's a really funny video. It's a parody called John Furnace, or called Out of Sight Landscaping, and it's a joke video my wife and I did that is very funny.
Okay, so you guys, while you're thinking about gifts, please, please, please consider John as one of your gifts this year, because being disabled and having the talent is a good thing. And so please, you guys, go support John, and please go support all other independent artists, including myself. I'm an independent published author, as you guys know. So if you go to Amazon and type Win, W-I-N, Win, capital I, W-I-N, into Amazon. And yes, for the blind readers, Whisper Sync works on the Kindle, I believe, and for the completely blind readers, I do offer my book in audio. That could be found on audible.com. So, John, what would be your closing advice for this interview?
I guess my closing advice is to never give up. You know, there's always a horizon as long as you look out in front of you, and you can do anything that you set your mind to.
Well, that's wonderful closing advice, and I'll actually give another quote to back John's closing advice. And this is coming from my BFF, who's also my assistant, and that's, if you can dream it, you can live it, and that's out of Dan Colter's book. If Dan can thread, you can do it too. Just type in Danielle Coulter on Amazon. She'll get a kick out of that. You guys support her as well. And as I said, one last time, please support independent artists of any kind on Etsy or on Amazon this holiday season 2017 / going into 2018. My God, I can't believe I just said that. And
I know it.
John's time this morning. I know this was a little bit of an interesting interview, but he did a fantastic job. And this podcast has been sponsored by Grace by Grit. Grace by Grit is a clothing line out of California, and they are an independent clothing line out of California, and more information can be found in the show notes along with John's information. And you guys know how to get to my show notes by now, and I just appreciate you guys listening to John's incredible story, and we appreciate your time. And this will be up tomorrow, and I'm actually putting it up today being Wednesday. And so you guys have a great day, and we'll speak to you next week or speak to you later today. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you very much, Wynn. And thank you, everyone.